This is a 2004 Tahoe, and the rear AC wasn't working properly. So anyway, I did quite a bit of research, and I found quite a bit on this box right here. So I decided to replace it. That's the new one. I guess the old one had a different part number. Back in the day, they decided that it wasn't. Well, from what I've read, they've decided that it was faulty, so they redid some things in it and gave it a new part number. So I replaced that and still didn't have anything but hot air coming through. So after replacing that, I started tearing into it a lot deeper, and it looks like I have a broken blend door. So here's the new piece. And this little blend door here that closes to allow the hot and cold, depending on where you have the setting, is actually busted in here on the old one. So anyway, it was quite the ordeal getting in here. I wish I would have taken some photo before I got started. You can see all the fan work and everything. I had to go to the dealership to get this new part, and it's going to be quite a headache to get it in, I'm sure, but at the same time, hopefully I'll have some air conditioning when I'm done. I read up on all the posts, and it looked like this is a pretty uncommon thing, but most posts suggest that you start with this little box here, so now I've got a new one of those, so I shouldn't have any problems with that in the future, hopefully. And then I also read up on this little blend door actuator, and I went ahead and replaced it. I opened it up and took a look. Everything looks like it's okay inside, but I didn't want to risk it and have to put it all back together and find out that that was bad. I did see some posts were talking about you can test it by turning the air conditioning to cool and then turning it to the heat, and then you should see this little dial here move back and forth if it's working properly. I never did test that. I figured that it was maybe faulty, and that's the reason why the blend door was actually broken. Maybe it looks like it may have gone too far and broken that blend door. I don't actually know if it's faulty or not, but I just decided, you know what, I'm in here, let's get it all done at once. So that in itself is a $130 part, so I wouldn't suggest just replacing it without knowing that it's bad, except that I've gone this far and decided if I'm going to do it all, let's do it right. So anyway, this is where I'm at. I'll get some after shots and hopefully get this thing put back together in not too much time. So here's what the inside looks like. You can see we've got these doors that open and close here to let the air in through either the hot or the cold chambers. This here is the air conditioning unit, and then this here is a heater core. And this is the part that broke on mine. So like I previously said, I do believe that anyway, I'm not a mechanic, so I don't know all the ins and outs, but I believe that mechanism just went too far and snapped that piece, this guy here. But yeah, like I said, I'm not a mechanic, so it could have just gotten brittle with time and snapped, but there's the problem right there. So anyway, had to buy this whole unit, and have just been slowly, one piece at a time, putting on all the pieces and getting ready to replace this old one here. So I'll grab another photo as I go. Another update here. We just finished pulling the old unit off, and we're ready to put the new one on. You can see once again the air conditioning core there, heater core here, and these little guys seem to be a good system, but they're really hard to get to. There's 3 of them in the back, and they just clasp the old unit onto the new unit just like so. So anyway, Getting those three in the back was difficult to get off, so I can only imagine putting them back on will be interesting. And then this one screw right here, it took me a few minutes to figure out why it wasn't free yet, but this screw here is just a simple screw, but hard to get to with the wheel well right there. So anyway, but aside from that, everything seems to be going pretty smooth. At this point, I've got it mostly put back together here. Like I said earlier, I was going to replace this one here, this blend door actuator, because it looked like it had been forced too far over. But as I took it all apart, this one was the same way. So this is just a learning curve for me. I'm not a mechanic, like I said, but it looks like these do actuate further than the marks, just to put pressure on the door to keep it closed or open, whatever position it's in. So anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and use this old one and hope that it doesn't break my new blend door. Just guessing that the old one must have just gotten brittle with time and eventually just broke off. So anyway, I did get all of this put back together, and like I said, these were on the back side were the hardest part. It has three on the back side just like the front, 1, 2, and then one more under here. And then this screw down here was one of the hardest parts of this whole deal for me to get into. I just didn't have the right tool for it, and so it took me a little too long to get that screw in and out. So anyway, aside from that, everything seems to be going back together smoothly, and hoping that this little actuator, I played with it a few times with the car on, and just turned the hot and cold back and forth and watched it actuate, and everything looks to be motorized smoothly. So I'm going to go ahead and put the old one back on and hope that I don't have problems with it. Anyway, I'll get one more shot here as I close it all up, but that in short has been my journey with the rear air conditioning unit here. So here we are, put back together, and you can see here, turned all the way, it doesn't quite extend as far as it used to. This was a little further up over here. Anyway, so that's a good indicator, I guess, if you're troubleshooting, to know what's wrong. If this little line here is too far up or too far down, your blend door might be broken on the inside. So that's what was going on with mine. I did also fail to mention earlier that I read that when you're redoing this guy here, when you put the new one in, you should take the fuse out, and that would be this fuse right here, the HVAC/EC, whatever that is, AS. So anyway, if you remove that fuse there and then plug in all of the electrical here, your red and your gray, and then turn on the car for 30 seconds and then go put the fuse back in and turn on the car again, that it should reset your computer and just get everything back to the way it should be when you're using your air conditioning unit here. So anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll get all the car put back together and we'll be on our way. We've got some cool air coming out, so we're ready to go again. Thanks again for watching.